Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is the very sleepy, but very God-slaying Josh Fitty.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. For those who don't know, which should be all of you, outside of a very select few, I have had a really sore tooth for like 4 days now. The middle of day number 2, I gave up and went to the dentist. Things are very expensive when you don't have insurance. And so I went to the dentist and they were like, yeah, by the way, in order to relieve that sore tooth, we need to do not 1, but 2 root canals. Because it is 2 teeth right next to each other that are both hurting. And they're like, yeah, that's why they're hurting. So, yeah, I've never had one in my life. I'm a little terrified. I'm like a lot terrified of the dentist.
Oh, piece of cake.
And of things going into my mouth like that. So,
yeah, I get it.
I was shaking when I talked to them, and the dentist just kind of looked over at her assistant. She goes, before even saying a word to me, has never met me in her life. She goes, yeah, he's gonna need drugs. So, I am on very strong painkillers right now. And they put me to sleep because I was very tired this afternoon. So,
that's fair though. I mean,
yeah, I took them with the intent of being able to drink something cold, and instead I fell asleep for 2 hours. So
fun.
Instead of doing the things I needed to do. So, yeah, that's my fun and enjoyment. So next Friday, I have to get 2 root canals at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, 8 o'clock in the morning. Jeez.
I mean, at least I'm not like going to an office after that. So
sure, but 8 o'clock in the morning.
I told them I wanted the earliest possible time, and they says, "Great, we'll put you down for 8 a.m." So,
I mean, okay.
my logic was I wanted it done as early. So I'm getting that done, and then I'm getting a deep clean immediately after.
Man,
so they're gonna have me under for the whole thing. I was like, I know it's gonna be really expensive. I was like, just do it. Just do it all while I'm there. I won't have to come in for like 6 months, hopefully. Like I know there's other things I need to get taken care of, but just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Well, Josh, I'm not having root canals this week.
Well, then you're having a better week than I am.
My children are sick. Does that count?
No.
Okay.
No, I would rather have sick children than sore teeth.
That's fair.
I've never had a sore tooth in my life until this week, and I'm a big fat baby, so well, I'm not happy.
I believe in you, Josh.
Yeah, I'm glad that somebody does.
Oh, man. Well, Josh, speaking of believing, we're here to talk about some crazy Destiny things. Josh, you did Pantheon.
My God, I did Pantheon.
Yeah, how was that? How do you feel? Do you feel like a God Slayer?
No, because this was the easiest one. Man, I'm so happy that I got a chance to do one. Shout out to friends of the show and winners of our dungeon crawl from a couple months ago. Dealer and Oak for hitting me up and seeing if I wanted to go run with them. That was such a cool experience. It's definitely a little more challenging than normal. I mean, you're 5 light below what you would normally be. And it was kind of weird doing some of those encounters like a little bit higher than me. Like Golgoroth hasn't been that strong since contest mode for me, so it was like, oh, I forgot, like this guy can kind of pack a punch. I've also never done damage. I've never actually done DPS on Golgi before.
Oh man.
Even in the old days, I was always the gaze holder.
Yes.
But it's very cool. So you start out on this first run there's 4 bosses. There's Golgoroth, there's the caretaker from King's Vault, there's the caretaker from Vow of the Disciple, the explicator of planets from Root of Nightmares, and then it culminates in Atrax from the Deepstone Crypt. And each
Mm,
of them have like their own little twists on it, but you're getting scored like it's a strike essentially. There's a score ticking up the whole time. You're getting medals for doing things and
nice.
whatnot, and there's a timer going too. If you can complete each encounter in under 7 minutes, and the timer stops between encounters, and when you have to restart an encounter because you died. If you achieve a platinum score, then you get extra drops, which is really cool. And that's what you want. You want those extra drops.
Yeah.
For each chest that I open, so there's one chest for each encounter you complete. I got, since it was my first time through for the week, I got 5 spoils of conquest. I got 1 adept raid weapon each time. I got 2 raid weapons, and I got a piece of armor for every chest. On top of that, because it was my first time through, there is a quest that you do, which also gives you doing that path for the first time, and you claim the triumph, gives you 30 spoils of conquest. And when you complete the quest, which you have to talk to Arcite before you leave the Atrax encounter, Arcite is standing there next to the chest. You actually have to talk to him. I saw a number of teams struggle for hours to get this done and then forget to talk to him. They just went straight back to orbit. You cannot talk to him in the Hall of Champions for it. You have to talk to him there. You get your choice of Eyes of Tomorrow, the
Ooh,
exotic rocket launcher from Deepstone. You can get Touch of Malice from Kingsfall, um, or you can get crafting balls or ascendant shards as your
nice.
reward for completing that pathway for the first time.
Nice.
I walked away with let's see, not counting the triumphs I claimed, because counting the triumphs got me another 3 adept raid weapons. All the triumphs are secret. When you complete each one, you actually get a raid drop. You get an adept raid drop from each of those.
Ooh,
And it's a set drop that you're gonna get. As far as I can tell, I think that they're curated drops. Because the ones I was getting were the same rolls that are in collections. I don't know if that's like intended to happen or not, but if it is, I got pretty great rolls on 2 of my 3 weapons like that.
nice.
I got of the 8 weapons that dropped for me, 5 of them were red borders.
Nice.
Of the regular raid weapons that dropped.
Nice.
Um, I have never. It has been well documented. I don't know if I've brought it up here on the show very extensively. The trace rifle from Root of Nightmares has eluded me for 15 months. This thing does not exist. I'm absolutely convinced this thing does not exist. I have cleared Root 20 something times. I have done the second encounter a ton of times. This is as bad as when Storm Chaser was put in duality, except that was a whole lot easier to farm. I ran like 65 runs of the second encounter in duality
Jeez.
to get 2 Storm Chasers. To only get two
Jeez,
Storm
man.
Chasers the entire time. I have never even seen this trace. I do not think it exists. I think everybody played an elaborate joke. I screamed so loud when I opened up the chest at the end of Caretaker yesterday, and it was the adept drop that came out of it for me.
Nice.
I screamed, and then I screamed again upon realizing they also gave me a normal one that was red bordered.
Ooh,
I and the people I was playing with, like, it is a group that like raids all the time. They love to do trios. They love to do low man raids. They like to farm raids. I am not somebody who gets to farm very often, but I mean, I still typically get about 15 to 20 runs in of a raid over its lifetime. That's not uncommon for me to do that.
mhm.
Um, I have been saying how I need to do more King's Fall, and then there's, of course, this drop. I was elated. They thought I was joking that I had never seen it before. And I was just freaking out because it dropped from an encounter that isn't even from that raid.
Mhm.
And that is the coolest thing about Pantheon. Pantheon will drop you rewards from any raid that is part of that week's block.
Nice.
So it was
That's
very,
so
very,
cool.
it was very cool. It was very special. Um, Again, I got so many different adept. Every single adept drop I got was a different gun. I think I got two adept trace rifles out of that.
Nice.
And of course, the adept weapons are enhanceable. So like they're not god rolls, but they are still fun rolls. Now I can go in and just beat the shit out of Nezarec 4 weeks in a row and buy 4 more of these things if I need to.
That's so cool.
This is in terms of loot. This is the third time I've had to say this in the last 6 months. This is the most rewarding loot that I feel like I've ever gotten. For me, it's rewarding. Like for the average player that clears this, it's not going to feel super rewarding. Like, yeah, it's going to be a lot of loot, but most folks who are going in and doing this probably can craft almost all the raid weapons. Let's be honest.
Nice.
For me, it was very cool as someone who is like still chasing some very specific ones. Like I have like 1 out of 5 in some of these patterns, right? Other ones I have fully done and I've been using them for years now.
Yeah.
I was very excited. It was very fun. I had a good time. I liked the changes to the mechanics. They were just enough to be a little irritating at times. For example, when you're in Golgoroth, there are now 2 unstable light holders
Hmm.
instead of 1, which, it's not that bad, but now that's everybody has to be looking at their screens. It can't just be like, oh, well, somebody already called out they have it. No, you have to make sure you don't have it too. On top of that, the people who take gaze will now have taken minotaurs that will try to swarm them while they have gaze. Which you might be like, oh, well, that's not that big of a deal. It's not on 5 over. It's going to be on contest difficulty.
Hmm.
There are also, instead of champions running around in that encounter now, there are yellow bar knights that can pretty much one shot you with their swords. So those were some neat wrinkles. Um, in Caretaker, there are now ogres that spawn where the ads do, where the snipers do on the left and right platforms. They now will spawn a random ogre up there. A random taken ogre will spawn. Again, enough to be like, oh, okay. Also, to clear these encounters in the 7-minute allotted time, we're thinking that this timer is going to tick up as the weeks go on. You pretty much have to 1 or 2 phase every encounter to get that 7 minutes.
Hmm.
We had a 2 floor the caretaker, and there's a specific way to do it. It was still very cool because we felt so overpowered. It was just like we saw the damage go boop.
Right.
It was very cool. The third encounter in Explicator of Planets, now they spawn tormentors in the middle of the field, and random fire tornadoes will
Oh.
spawn and chase you around.
Oh, so fun. That sounds fun.
It's fucking great. Yeah, it's fucking great. I was thrilled to find that one out. And then last but not least, Atrax.
Mm.
In Atrax, they also spawn tormentors.
Jesus Christ, really?
Yes, really. The tormentors spawn in Atrax. Those ones you can kind of avoid because it's just like, oh, they're like just kind of like dicking around. You don't really like they won't chase you if you're not like going down by them. They're not going to jump up onto the platforms with you.
Yeah, but if you're not
Maybe
paying
that'll
attention, they'll come
change
get
in
you.
later weeks because it's important to know these are the smaller tormentors. These are not like the boss ones from
Right.
Onslaught.
Right.
But they were just enough of a nuisance. Like it's just one more thing, and that's the thing is I've seen people go, oh, this isn't that big of a deal. Like, yeah, I'm waiting for y'all to report back in when you've had to do like 7 of these encounters in a row, and you're like, God damn it, stop spawning the tormentors. We're 15 under.
Right.
I think it's a very cool idea, though. I look forward. They said this is going to be the first iteration of it. That if the feedback is good, this is something you want to build on. I have already said that I think that they're going to do a new version of this for the 10th anniversary. I think this was supposed to be a 10th anniversary thing.
Yeah.
I really think this is what was meant for it to be for 10th anniversary, and they just brought it forward.
Yeah. The more I see online, the more I feel like that this was definitely supposed to be for that.
So, because the next 4 bosses they're going to add, it's ultimately going to culminate in week 4 with 8 bosses. The next 4 they're adding are in some order Rolk, Oryx roll. I think it goes Oryx is next week, and then I think it goes, instead of doing 6 bosses, they jump straight to 7. It goes from 5 to 7, and that's when it becomes Rolk, Riven, and then Nezarec. Um, I can only imagine what the fucking Nezarec fight is going to be like.
Yeah.
Because that's not that was, even on contest, that was not a difficult encounter.
No, it definitely was.
So the current fear is that it's going to be a bunch of tormentors running around instead of Centaurians.
That would make it way more difficult.
That would make it incredibly difficult. And that you are going to have, it is pretty much a guarantee you will have to do legit Riven. You will not be doing the cheese. The cheese is actually harder to do the lower the light level is. So I'm interested to see how this all plays out. I think right now, very cool idea. I think it's very rewarding for the loot. After you've kind of done it for the first time, though, like you can go in and farm these chests. That's the other cool thing. You will not get any more adept drops, though. You can only farm for like the red borders and spoils. It is a very efficient spoils farm. If you have a locked in team, you can do this in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You can get, 20 spoils in 30 minutes. You can go in and get a bunch of red borders. All the armor I got was high statted. I think the lowest piece of armor I got was a 64. It is incredibly rewarding. I believe that your raid mods work for each encounter also for their respective raids.
Okay.
It's just it's a very cool idea. It's something that I like feel like we should have had a long time ago.
Yeah.
But this is cool. This is basically what Prison of Elders needed to be, I think. It's a very cool way to reuse assets. Would I like to see some different modifiers? Sure. And I think that they're going to start stacking the modifiers as we get deeper into this. But that title, once the final thing of this drops, you are going to have 2 weeks, I think, to do the final run. That is going to be just bananas. The Godslayer title is going to be one of the more exclusive titles in this game. It's going to be up there with things like Shadow and Blacksmith and Reckoner. Or even like Ribbonsbane, because like for each of those minus Reckoner, you had to do the flawless raid for the title as well. So I'm curious to see how they're going to do this. I think that Godslayer is going to be a really cool title. It's one that I've never wanted a title like this. I've never been more determined to get a title than I have in this moment. So each week we'll do a check-in, see how mental health is doing in regards to grinding this out. I would love to be able to walk in here at episode 200 and say I did it. Because that's going to be kind of brushing up there at the end. So the last couple of days that you can run it. So I talked to the group I ran with, and they're like, "Yeah, as long as we get our clear first, then we'll tag you in." And man, it's one of those, you got to know the encounters before you go in. This is not an activity where you can be learning the encounters on the fly. This is for experienced raiders. Maybe you can go in at the 5 under, but as it gets harder and harder, it's going to be one of those things like you have to know the mechanics, because you have to be able to then compensate for the new stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I really want to see what the changes are going to be with Oryx and Rolk in particular. I think those have the opportunity to be absolutely just horrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, in particular, you have to change up how you do your DPS against Oryx so much versus just about any of these other bosses at this point. With like linears are still, I think, the go-to thing for him. Linears or rockets, and it's like, oh, everything else is like kind of closer range. So we're grenade launcher. We're edge transiting. We edge transited every boss to death. Well, the first 3 at least. Then bust out Parasite for Atrax to hit him in one go with six worms.
6 worms.
And you quick swap to your laments. But yeah, it was a really cool experience. Some of the modifiers are cool, like they're not all negative. There's one that for every time somebody uses a class ability, you gain a 10% damage buff, and it can stack 3 times. So it's just basically like, hunters, please dodge as we're running in, essentially, or like drop rifts and things like that. That was a pretty cool thing, and that's definitely going to help big time as we get further in. I'm looking forward to it. I think I think it's a cool activity. It's one of those that, like, if I don't get the title, I'm not going to be super tilted by it because I know how difficult it's going to be at the end. But I think, like, especially knowing that Nez is one of the final two, it's either him or Riven. I don't know the exact order, but knowing that they're the final two actually gives me a lot of hope, having gotten a contest clear against Nez already.
Yeah.
It's basically every big DPS check in the series at this point, and I think that's cool. Nothing from Vault of Glass or Garden, though. Funny enough, I thought for sure the giant harpy from Garden of Salvation would be part of something like this, and then you realize, oh, there's no craftable weapons in that raid, and that's probably why it's not a part of this, so that nobody feels bad about getting non-craftable loot, or like loot that hasn't been overhauled since it came out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm hoping for the next iteration that those weapons will become craftable at some point this year, and that we can have those included. I think having that harpy in would be hilarious. People would actually have to learn how to do garden again.
Jesus.
I'd also love to see a variation of this for dungeons. I think getting some of the dungeon bosses in there would be pretty fun.
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's a lot of cool dungeon bosses, but you think they would have a separate one for dungeons, though, because it's a 3-person activity instead of
yeah, and that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, I'd like to see a separate one.
Oh, I thought you meant you want to see dungeon bosses incorporated into this version.
No, I think that would be too hard because those are naturally smaller arenas for the most part.
Right.
But no, I would really appreciate a dungeon version of Pantheon.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. So, well, Josh, I'm proud of you. Good job. You did it. You did it. You got the things. You did the things.
I did do the things. I enjoyed it. I'll be wearing that Atrax emblem loud and proud. I kept the legend emblem on for 2 weeks and then I took it off. So really, really good time though. Again, shout out to Dealer and Oak for letting me tag along. Just some of the best loot, man. It was already a good time and the loot just made it better. So
yeah,
I'm very happy. I'll always be happy for that. Like, my time was respected.
Nice. Always
Corey,
feel like your time was respected.
It's always nice to have that felt because Destiny doesn't always do a good job at that.
We say that, but then I didn't.
I'll say it. It's okay. We have some stuff in the Schwab this week. It's kind of a beefy one. It's a bit of a beefy one. I'm gonna fly through some of this real quickly. I don't really feel the need to dig into the PvP maps too much. They published some maps the other day of them. They're included here of where the spawn points are going to be, where the heavy ammo crate is going to spawn, capture points for control, I assume, and trials capture zones also. So that's cool. Like, if you want a closer look at these maps, at Eventide Labs, Cirrus Plaza, and Dissonance, go check out the final Into the Light stream that they did. I think that these look kind of cool. The Cirrus Plaza kind of reminds me of like a futuristic ivory tower from Halo 2. When I look at that, I think that Dissonance looks cool, but unfortunately, like, our friend Joe pointed this out to me, that it kind of appears like it could end up being another like a smaller disjunction, and that's just a horrifying phrase for me to hear. I think the cool thing about this map is, and contrast to why so many of us hate. Um, I just said the name of it. I just said the fucking name of it. Disjunction. Um, is that there's no swamp for people to run out into and just like snipe you from it. There's no,
Mm,
it doesn't look like there's any like huge sniper lanes here. I actually kind of like that. You're not going to like every map, but I do think this is cool. If we hit 2 out of 3, then I'll be happy. I'm not a beggar here. I think Eventide Labs is going to be a fan favorite right away. That looks awesome. Cirrus Plaza looks like it's going to be pretty nutty. And all 3 are made for trials. So I'm excited about
nice.
that. Um,
Nice.
Something else that's going to come with this, though, we are getting a special playlist that's only going to have these 3 maps in it. It's going to be a 3v3 playlist called New Territory. This playlist will replace the 3v3 quick play node and feature the 3 new maps with the following game modes: Survival, Elim, Clash, and Collision. Pick up the quest from Shax for more details on the maps and playlist. And while New Territory is the designated playlist for the new maps, the maps will be available in other playlists and private lobbies as well. Lastly, New Territory is available until the end of the season, at which point any player who engaged in the playlist will be awarded with the new Slaycation emblem.
Ooh.
This is a pretty spiffy looking emblem. I like
Yeah,
this.
it's
You
pretty
can see
cool.
like sketches of the maps behind them.
I know it's
Um,
cool.
I like that.
Pretty
Yeah,
cool.
there's a reference to each of them there. That's pretty cool to me. Um, you see like a boot print too. I'm
Mhm.
excited for this. I think anything like this that's just gonna be given away is cool to me.
Yeah,
Um,
it looks pretty cool. Into it.
there's a Pantheon deep dive here, talking about each of the 4 targets for this week. There's some lore here, which I would encourage anybody who's not like super familiar on these characters. Like I was not on some of these, or I had forgotten it over the years. Go look at some of this. I think it's really interesting. For example, um, the the Golgoroth, for example, a hive ogre infested with burrowing parasites related to the worm gods and committed to Oryx's services. One of the most powerful ogres ever known, Golgoroth was felled aboard the Dreadnought by the fire team that delivered the Taken King his final death. Vanguard operatives uncovered that Golgoroth was enlisted as a vessel to both tie the violence directly to Oryx and corrupt hordes of stolen light from Oryx's conquests. The ogre's flesh also served as containment for a tablet of ruin, which was recovered from his remains. And yeah, deciphered hive apocrypha suggests that Golgoroth was fond of flower petals. Daughters of Safatoon would send warriors with petals stuffed beneath their chitlin as deadly delights for the ogre. And then you've got the caretaker.
Ooh.
The caretaker. This is one that I have just like not been super into the lore on. Um, the caretaker is a being of which we know little. It resembles a scorn abomination, but has been the subject of several experiments and is believed to have been host to a worm. It was entrusted with a collection of worm spawn as well as other entities like the witness, that the witness and Rolk had obtained to be analyzed and stored within the pyramid. Reports from fire teams that raided the sunken pyramid mentioned the caretaker appears to have been both victim and overseer of experiments seeking to fuse worms and scorn together. So yeah, there is some fascinating tidbits here, on each of these characters. Atrax, a lot of us know stuff about Atrax at this point. And then the Explicator of Planets. It is outright confirmed that that is actually a clone created by Callus and assigned to the Shadow Legion forces aboard the Witness's personal pyramid ship. Zorak, who was granted the title Explicator of Planets, has surveyed a collection of worlds conquered by the Black Fleet for an unknown purpose. Preliminary theories span weighing the worlds for discipleship to searching for the veil or a method of contributing to the final shape. Reports
Ooh.
conclude that even the Shadow Legion was not immune to Nezarek's torment. Zorak details his own nightmares and more reports of nightmares and violent incidents among his forces, and his personal logs indicate that whatever their official goal was, they were personally cataloging worlds that had once been a part of the Cabal Empire. There's some interesting nuggets both with him and with the caretaker that kind of hint at maybe future directions for their storylines, for these specific factions. I think that's cool. Like we're kind of getting that tossed in here. I'm sure it's all part of the lore, that I'm just not
Yeah.
remembering. But very cool. If you clear any branch of the Pantheon, you can get a new version of that sleek raid ring that was available in the lead up to Beyond Light coming out back in 2020. And if you, of course, get the Godslayer title, there's a Bungie rewards pin for that. Um, let's talk about a big change, though. We got some big changes, Corey.
Big changes.
Big changes.
I'm going through changes. No. Okay.
I hated that. Rahul's frequent decryptor program. Rahul is getting a vendor track finally.
Ooh, finally.
The experience of grinding out new exotic armor can be a time-consuming process. It can take quite a few runs to get the drop you're looking for, and many more to get the one that has the stats that support your build. Besides that, with exotic armor pieces often forming the backbone of a powerful build, new players are regularly asked to spend a long time tackling challenging content solo before being able to run builds that support the most effective tactics. The economy team has established a good working relationship with the number one Cryptarch over the last year. As we added exotic armor focusing, we managed to help Rahul set up a new promotional program of sorts. Starting in the final shape, Rahul is the source for any new exotic armor that we release. When you first talk to Rahul after the final shape launches, he will introduce you to a new rewards program tied to his brand new reputation track. The idea is simple. The more you decode engrams with him, the more you increase your reputation. Once you completely fill the reputation track once and reset your rank, Rahul will allow you into an elite club, granting you access to a new tier of focusing. Once you become an engram insider, I actually really like that. You'll be able to purchase any piece of exotic armor for any character on your account for one exotic engram and one exotic cipher, in addition to the previous focusing options. Because this is tied to Rahul's new reputation track, there is no weekly limit to using this tier of focusing. As long as you still have ciphers and engrams, you can keep rolling armor. With this change, you're also altering the way that old sources of exotic armor work. First off, lost sectors will keep the same drop rates for exotics, but will instead drop engrams whenever they would have previously dropped gear. Niamuna will also still drop new exotic armor when you complete a Vex Strike Force encounter, but we will not be adding any more new armor to the drop list after Season of the Wish. With these changes, we know you're wondering, how long will it take to get this newfangled tier of focusing? I've got the world's first race to prepare for. Without going into exact numbers, the actions that will give the most reputation will be Precision Decryption, aka Tier 2 focusing, followed by Advanced Decryption, opening exotic engrams, and last but also least, opening a prime engram. So if you want to be ready for the Witnesses forces as soon as possible, stock up on exotic engrams and Ascendant shards before June 4th, as with a little more than a full stock of exotic engrams, you'll be able to start focusing new armor. So that's 10 exotic engrams will be enough to get you to that Tier 2 focusing. I'm here for it. I'm so excited for this. I'm happy. I'm tired of grinding out shit on Niamuna. I'm tired of going in and doing lost sectors like 15 times and not getting my armor to drop. I'm very excited for this. This is a long overdue thing. My only critique here, I think, is that on Niamuna, I wish it would just drop the exotic engrams at that point. Just drop a guaranteed exotic. I understand that you want to get, for those of us who already have everything, I guess I should say. Just drop an engram for us. But I don't know how hard that is to program or whatever. The very much a welcome change here. You can see on his very first reward track there, you get prime engrams, of course. There's some enhancement cores, some enhancement prisms, and then a golf ball and a cipher. I feel really vindicated not having to have had used exotic ciphers very much at all in the past. So I have them in all of my past season passes that I can go claim through a dim extension that I have installed. Not dim, a Chrome extension I have installed for old season passes. So definitely looking forward to doing that. And being able to focus to my heart's content now. They're revamping shader icons. This is going to take some getting used to, but I understand why we're finally doing this. This makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Currently, there are issues that can make the experience of applying a shader inconsistent. The first being that while each shader applies 6 colors, only 4 are shown on the shader icon. This can result in the shader appearing differently than players may expect from the icon preview. Yeah, we've complained about that for years. All 4 color sections on the current shader icon are equal in shape and size, making it difficult to distinguish what the main color will be when applied. There are also many shaders that have unique glows that players strive for, and with the current design, they are not represented. Gambit Jadestone is a great example of this. To help address these issues, we've made updates to the shader icon design that includes all 6 colors for the shader. We're also changing the design in a way that makes the primary colors appear to take more space than the secondary colors for a more accurate representation with most gear items. Glows are also reflected in the updated design, so it'll be easier to distinguish those shaders within your selection screens. These look cool. It's going to take some getting used to, though. Like, we're actually going to have to, like, kind of scroll through and look at shaders now, I think. But we're able to favorite things, so maybe this won't be too bad.
I'm glad we'll be able to favorite things, because I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to put a shader on and I just don't, because I don't feel like scrolling through the shaders to figure out which one it is.
Yeah, that was a pretty welcome change. I definitely went through and favorited like 3 rows of shaders that I like to use pretty regularly on my stuff, and I just keep going back to it. um, all right. Here we go.
Oh
Our
boy.
last big one in the TWAB this week. The PvP Strike Team is here to talk about some
Strike
things.
Team. We need a theme song for Strike Team, like a real GI Joe.
I was gonna say, like, we need like the real Crucible heroes.
Yeah, not like a 1980s Transformers movie theme song. We don't need it to go that hard, but we do need some sort of like cheesy 80s cartoon theme song. Could you imagine the guitar riff on that?
Oh my god, could you imagine if the touch just chimed in?
Oh man, good times. Good
times. All right, let's get into this one, because the changes that we're talking about here are well, they're about the kind of controversial changes that they've been trying to do with the special ammo distribution system. This is just kind of a really long explanation about why they're doing it. When they did the respawn system, which, that means when you respawn, you have special ammo, essentially.
Yep.
The meter system, which they have attempted to do, its development is a very funny story. I think it's hilarious. Basically, like an invisible box dropped onto you when you respawned. Um, I thought that was pretty amusing. Um, and then there were balance problems. The overall balance of the meter system in the wider sandbox is concerning. It primarily benefits one player type over all others, with players who routinely perform above average in their lobbies getting the double benefits of having more special ammo than the respawn system allowed at certain points in the game, while opponents often have much less. In the meter system, high performing players are earning special ammo at 3.5 times the rate of lower performing players, a delta which has led to many non high performing players abandoning special weapons entirely. In competitive, for example, with the meter system in use, low performing players were more likely to get kills with heavy ammo than they were with special. The weapon balance has become similarly one sided, as it promotes shotguns as the main solution, and all other special weapons are perceived as no longer useful for most players when in an ammo limited situation. Under the meter system, shotguns have more than 76% of special kills, while fusions and snipers are reduced to a combined 18%, and the rest of special weapons making up only 6%. This has led to a very the rich get richer meta, where the best performing players and weapons are now even stronger by comparison without having to do anything differently. Last week, we took steps to improve on these issues, but the difficulty we face in a system where special ammo is almost entirely earned is that we have limited room to close the gap between high and low performers before it functionally becomes everyone gets a special ammo on a timer, which is something we'd like to avoid. And then there's a lot of technical issues that they talk about. The crate system. As a potential fallback for meter system, the special ammo crate system was resurfaced and iterated upon. The crate system has several benefits from a design perspective, including the ability to place certain crates in key zones around the map to help encourage player movement in non-objective or objective optional modes. The crate system has also, based on its time in competitive and trials, done some positive things in terms of moving special ammo distribution closer to healthy values. The delta between high and low performing players has moved back to 2.5 times and has led to less late game snowballing as players who do try to hoard special ammo lose it upon death. Ultimately, the crate system in isolation also has several major problems, such as presenting a frustrating amount of friction between playing the game how you want to and playing the game how you need to if you want to run a special ammo weapon. Additionally, in round based modes, it is too frictionless to run double special ammo weapons. It is also the first system we've introduced that allows players to directly influence the special ammo economy of the opposing team, as controlling most crates can starve the other team of ammo. From a strategic perspective, this is an interesting mechanic, but no other way to earn special ammo in gameplay. It serves to be more frustrating than fun, and many players have struggled to adapt to the change, causing additional friction when playing match-made teams. So, what's the solution here? It's the 1-1-1 system. So, each of the above listed systems has both positives and negatives. In isolation, each system helps and hurts a different part of the population, but none of them holistically solves the ammo problem. The respawn system offers safe distribution of ammo amongst players, and the ease of availability promotes special weapon diversity, but giving 2 kills worth to every player every life also results in far too many one-hit kills for a healthy sandbox. The meter system allows you to earn it in a deterministic way and increases the rate of earning if you're playing well, which feels rewarding for high-performance players. But for low-performing players, it feels significantly worse. The crate system allows us to promote movement, um, but causes significant friction by forcing conflict with optimal player flows and between match-made teams, and allows too much special ammo in round-based modes. That's just like the long and the short of it. So what's the solution? Solution is 1-1-1, taking parts of each of the above systems and combining them. Number one, players will respond each life with 1 kill worth of special ammo for their chosen weapon. This serves as a stopgap for players to make sure they are never going long amounts of time with an empty weapon and encourages more players to continue to utilize special weapons, albeit in a limited fashion. Setting the ammo at 1 instead of 2 kills worth ensures there is not a surplus of special ammo that is available for minimum effort. Spawning with 1 also functions as a healthy midpoint between spawning with none in the crate system and retaining all ammo with the meter. All primary weapon final blows will drop a personal ammo brick that awards 1 kill's worth of special ammo. This is our earnable method of distributing ammo in the blended system until our purpose-built version of the ammo meter is ready. What this means is that any of your final blows with a primary weapon will drop an ammo brick that only you can pick up, regardless of whether the opponent you defeated had special ammo on them. Likewise, if you defeat a player who has special ammo using a special ammo weapon, that will not drop a brick on the ground. So, like the meter system, you cannot use special to directly earn more special. We will be initially introducing this specific portion of the system into comp starting next week to help address player complaints about the economy in those modes. Crates will continue to exist, but their icon visibility range on the HUD has been decreased, and they will only provide a single kill's worth of special ammo when opened. These crates will continue to serve as points of interest around a map, but will no longer be a requirement for players to interact with them to partake in the special ammo system. They will instead function as a small bonus for players who take the time to engage with them, and an optimal midpoint step for players to gain special ammo that is more effort than simply respawning with it, but less effort than getting a primary weapon final blow. We are very excited to introduce this system sometime after the launch of the final shape, and we greatly appreciate patience and feedback as we have continued experimenting in our effort to improve the Crucible. That was a whole mouthful. Corey, I know you're not a big PvP guy.
Nah. But I mean, I dabble.
You dabble. I will say I like this solution they're coming up. I really wish the meter system could have worked. I think that was so cool. And obviously they're rebuilding it, and we'll see what the new version of that looks like down the road. Probably not till like early next year at this point, I would imagine.
Yeah.
If they're going through all this trouble now.
Yeah.
I think this feels pretty healthy. I think that their hope is that like, oh, maybe we like this setup enough, and this is enough of a stopgap that they can like really try to flesh out a new system. But something did have to be done. Snipers were too dormant on certain maps before, and then other times people were just spamming shotguns and fusions. Compare that with someone like me who likes running a trace rifle, and I can't do that in PvP. I think this feels like a decent decision. I have not played enough PvP in recent weeks to really comment too much on the ammo crate system. I know a lot of folks did not like it. I did not like it when it was announced, and that's why I deliberately have tried to stay away from it to a very large extent. But what are you going to do? You know, there's not much to do at that point. PvP is really between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
Both when it comes to the abilities and when it comes to abuse of special ammo. But I mean, I kind of agree with what was said here. You know, there's players in comp who are, it's easier for them to get kills with heavy ammo than special.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that way in regular Crucible sometimes. I've also like just never had a huge, this is like sacrilegious for being in Crucible, I feel. I've never had a problem with running double primaries. I run them a lot. If I'm doing something like Trials, then that's a little bit different. But if I'm like out there Iron Bannering or, you know, just playing like Control or Momentum or Mayhem or something like that, like, yeah, I'm very specifically doing what I need to do. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a huge problem with this. I like that they took the time to write out and explain the philosophy behind everything though, because, man, you really needed it. So,
yeah, I'm glad they did that for sure.
Okay. I was trying to gather my place. The Super Black Shader's available for everybody who has finished all of our site's quests and maxed out their Shaxx reputation. You can go and unlock it. I think the animation is really cool. Fun little joke. God, it looks so good. The shader looks so good, man.
Yeah, it looks cool. I've seen people. I've seen images of it, of people running around and stuff. It looks super cool. I really want it. If I had the time to do it, I would totally be wearing that. It looks so cool.
If he had the time, ladies and gentlemen.
Time does not work in your favor when you are an adult with children and a life, supposedly. People say I have one, but
I wouldn't know.
You know, Josh, trade you.
No, I'm good.
You don't want 2 children under the age of 6?
No.
Oh.
I'm good.
I thought everybody did. Have kids, they said. It'll be fun, they said.
All right, let's shift into questions. Let's
questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into questions here real quick. Our first questions comes from our old friend Joasis. What are your predictions for the raid name of the Final Shapes raid?
Wait, what was that? You broke up for me. What did you say?
What's your prediction for the name of the Final Shape raid?
Smoke and Mirrors.
That actually would be pretty good.
I know.
But I feel like that's going to be a campaign mission name.
Sure. Yeah. But it'd still be a badass raid name, though. Oh, man, that'd be so cool.
I'm going to go Cataclysm.
Old World of Warcraft name out there.
Yeah, that's definitely unintentional. I say Cataclysm because like this is billed as like the end of all things.
Yeah.
So I think doing something like I've seen people be like, oh, what if it's called the End Game? Like I would fucking hate that.
Yeah,
because this isn't the end of the franchise. If this was the final raid ever, maybe.
To be fair, no. Marvel called their movie Endgame, and it's not the end of the Marvel universe either.
Yeah, but I think when you do something like that, like when we're in the end game, like it's implied that I don't know. I think that's just fucking stupid.
I know. I'm just being.
Jiggly Panda writes in and asks, in your opinion, what was the better game adaptation show, The Last of Us or Fallout? They are completely different shows.
I didn't watch The Last of Us, and I've only watched one episode of Fallout, and I really like Fallout, so I'm going to say Fallout.
Okay, so I'll take the lead on this one. They're completely different shows. It's really hard to say that like one is better than the other because they're so different. One is a direct adaptation, a direct one-to-one adaptation. The other is a new story that exists in the universe of the games, like as a sequel to the games. So the answer is both. Neither. I don't know. Like they're both incredible in their own rights. They're both going to be award-winning shows.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think they both show like that you can do either of these. Like there is an argument for new stories set in an existing universe. When you look at something like, you look at Fallout, you look at Cyberpunk Edge Runners, you look at Arcane, like those are series that are set within the universe of these games. And then there's a direct adaptation in The Last of Us. It's really the only true good direct adaptation we've ever gotten. And then there's kind of a third one, which is like the loose interpretation, but still inspired by the game. And that's where you get the Super Mario Brothers movie, you get Sonic the Hedgehog, you get Detective Pikachu, like,
Mm-hmm.
and though those are good in their own right. Now, would I put those like on the level of these two? Not necessarily. Like the four shows I just mentioned are far and away the best adaptations, and I remain adamant that a TV series is the way to adapt a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you mentioned it on a show that you mentioned on Xbox Casuals when we talked about this, that like you're that's why you're a little bit concerned about like the God of War show, diving in straight with the Norse and not starting with like the classic Kratos story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I mean, I think it ultimately comes down to, like what creatives you have on board. Like I look at something like the proposed Grounded series.
Yeah.
And like that, if you use what happens in the game as like your rough layout, you're gonna have a pretty fun, family friendly show.
Yeah.
Something like Gears, I could kind of take either one, like either, and it's funny because I would have said they screwed up Halo so bad, because I would have been like, yeah, I'll take either an adaptation or I'll take a brand new story set in the same universe, and instead they gave me something in a multiverse that was somehow neither one of those things. And yeah, so like Fallout and The Last of Us are both like, they're both the best in their respective fields.
Yeah.
And I would say Sonic is the best iteration of like a loose interpretation. Like you can clearly tell it's inspired by the games, it feels like the games, but it is its own thing.
Yeah.
God, the Sonic the Hedgehog movies are so fun. I can't wait for number 3 to come out this fall.
I really liked the first one, and I never watched the second one.
I like the first one. I love the second one. Idris Elba is perfect as Knuckles. I actually can't wait to watch the Knuckles show on Paramount Plus. I need to get around to it. Jiggly Panda also writes in, y'all said if Destiny did a series, it should be a kind of anthology series. So I ask you this, would you like it to follow certain lore pieces, or for them to change it up a little bit? This is one you need. I think you gotta follow what's already established in universe.
Yeah. I think you tell the stories that aren't in the game, but you have to follow the lore. I mean, look at Halo, and that like Halo has some deep lore, but it is not nearly as complicated and deep as Destiny's, right? And so you look at what happened to Halo, and you just gotta do it right. You have to do it right.
Yeah. I think with Destiny, it in particular, you want to use, like, you're using the lore as a guide. You can still come up with your own dialogue and stuff. But you got to follow the structure that's already set out. And I think that's because Destiny puts such an emphasis on discovering the lore of the world within its own series.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout did it a little bit differently, because Fallout is telling a story that is in the future, and it's referencing things from the games, right? And we all know how Bethesda tells stories. Bethesda always sets up future games and projects within their own universes. Like there are references to 76 and Fallout 3, for instance.
Yeah.
We knew about the events, like we knew about the Dragonborn in Oblivion. We knew about the Oblivion Gates in Morrowind, this and that. It very few shows are going to be able to do what Fallout did. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Because very few are willing to tell a story set in the future of their worlds that is not going to be playable, and also unveil like super meaningful lore. They took a huge gamble by putting major lore we've never known about in the Fallout universe into this show. They took a huge fucking gamble.
Yeah.
I do not want to see every show do that. I don't want to have to be explaining to people in like 3 years that, oh yeah, if you want to know what exactly happened at this and this moment, you need to go watch this anime instead of being like, just go read these couple lore pages to get a general idea.
Yeah.
If you want the full thing, go watch this cool like 6-piece anime. So I'm still team anthology here. You have a lot of freedom to do what you want to do at that point, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm with you. I think the stories they tell within the lore, they're free to tell whatever story they want, but it's got to fit in the lore or be part of the lore that's already established. That's my opinion.
I think it's got to be part of the lore that's already established when it comes to Destiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's too much going on. It's not like, oh, we have one game every 6 years or something. No, there's new seasons every couple of months. There's new lore cards every couple of months. So, final question from Jiggly Panda. Thoughts on how your NFL teams drafted this year?
Well, Josh, we didn't have a first round pick again. Our amazing franchise quarterback was where was he? He was he was hanging out with the Saudi king during draft weekend. So he's making some great friends. And we had two second round picks, 2 4th round picks, a 6th and a 7th this year, I think was what the draft was. No, 2 5th round picks. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So, we usually hit pretty good in second round. I mean, we got Nick Chubb and David Njoku, and I mean, we've gotten some pretty decent second round picks. But man, I didn't even bother watching. That's how not enthused I was about. I'm really disappointed in the Browns all the time. And I think it hurts worse because they actually have a roster that's good on paper.
I saw the render. This has nothing to do with the draft. I saw the rendering for the proposed new stadium.
Oh yeah.
That thing looks like shit.
Yeah, of course it does, because the Haslams are dumb.
It looks like, dude, it looks like the Texas Rangers baseball stadium, which looks like a fucking warehouse.
Yeah. Gosh, they're gonna kill terrible. Cleveland. They're gonna kill Cleveland.
It looks fucking awful. Like, oh yeah, why keep the stadium? Like there was a side-by-side picture of the concept art for the new stadium and of your current stadium, which I agree the current stadium could definitely be better. Don't get me wrong. But
it's almost 30 years old.
You have the beautiful backdrop of Lake Erie behind it. And it's just like, what the fuck, man? Like, you want to give that up? Like, I understand wanting to put like a roof on it. I totally get that. But there's a way to design a nice looking stadium. And like, also, like, why would you not want the business that stadium is going to bring to be in downtown Cleveland? Like,
yeah, that's the big fight right now. It's
and Chicago's going through a similar one too.
Yeah.
I'm actually
I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I understand and I feel really bad. Like I know a little bit more about the Chicago situation than I do about the Browns situation. The family that owns the Browns, it's just they're like the Haslams. They're fucking sheep. They're fucking sheep, right? And the Browns have been cursed for forever. It's telling that they have Rome Odudson now that they just drafted, and he only has to get like 5,000 receiving yards to be the number 1 receiver in franchise history.
Yeah.
That's pretty telling about how shit your franchise is. Yeah. And they want to move them from downtown Chicago, Soldier Field, downtown Chicago, right there on the water. They want to move them out by O'Hare Airport. Okay. Is where they want to kick the stadium out to, which is like 25 miles away. I cannot fathom fucking taking the Bears out of downtown Chicago.
Oh my god, dude! What are they doing?
Listen. I've heard the complaints about Soldier Field for years. Again, I understand. I don't know Like, outside of needing that stadium covered, I don't know what all you still need to change there, but it has to be a cheaper prospect than moving to the suburbs. Like, nobody wants to play in a fucking Chicago suburb. They want to be able to be like, yeah, I went to the game in Chicago. Nobody wants another Arlington, Texas situation here, okay? It's one thing for the fucking Texas Rangers to be in Arlington. It's another thing for the Dallas Cowboys to be down the street, where the only things around the stadium are a rundown Days Inn and a Walmart that has like one shooting every other month at it.
Jeez.
I'm not even kidding. I'm not even fucking kidding. Dude.
I know you're not.
There's also a store called Condom Sense right there.
Jesus.
Yeah. They fucking show images of the stadium, and you know what you see? You see concrete and warehouses. Scenic Arlington, Texas, man. Like that is the future that we're seeing for the Chicago Bears and for the Cleveland Browns. So my rant is over.
Look,
my rant's over.
I get it. Like, Brook Park is a nice area, or well, it's an okay area. It's not the nicest area, but like that's where the airport is, and like I get it.
It's not moving the Rams and Clippers to Inglewood.
Yeah, it's just like when LeBron left Cleveland, that killed Cleveland's economy for a while.
Yeah,
and like your
tourism economy is just gone.
And like, look, as much as I like the Cavs and the Guardians are okay, like they're not the support system of that economy. It's the Browns.
Right.
It's the Browns. It's totally the Browns. And if you move them out of the stadium, or out of the city, it's like you're gonna kill Cleveland. And like Mayor Bibby is actually like wanting to like rebuild and make the city a nice city again, instead of like some crazy dumpster fire that somehow it became over the late 90s, early 2000s. And he's doing a great job, but like the Haslams want Cleveland to pay for the stadium if they want to keep it in Cleveland. And it's like, no, it's your team. You need to help pay for it. It's, oh my God, it's just so stupid. It's dumb. It makes my head hurt, Josh. Help me. Get me out of here.
I am not. I don't really care about my team's draft. I'm gonna be totally honest. I kind of forgot we had a first round pick this year, if we're being just super clear. We traded our second round pick last year to the Giants for a defensive end who, thank God, he re-signed with us, but we made him one of the highest paid in the league. We went pretty much all defense, and it's like, so there's no sexy pick, there's no quarterback, there's no receiver, there's no running back. We've done all that shit for like the last couple of years, except for the quarterback part. We lost our quarterback, and that got Geno. I didn't write back Smith. I have feelings. I have very strong feelings about this, but the guy that we got, they said he was only the second defensive player off the board, and he was the one that the Seahawks had the highest rated on their board. So that makes me feel good. It's a position of need. They seem to draft pretty decently. John Schneider picked up some more picks for us, like he always does. Very happy we did not trade back or out of the first round altogether. We actually filled a need when there was a stud player available, who I don't think they dreamed of being available to them, by the way. But 6 quarterbacks in the first 12 picks will do that to you. My fear was that we were going to draft Michael Penix, and we did not do it. Thank God. The Atlanta Falcons saved us from ourselves. And we did not draft a Bo Nix either. Sean Payton took the hit on that one. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling optimistic right now.
I can't believe the Falcons took a quarterback.
I can. It's so fucking funny. The Falcons are like low-key one of the worst run teams, and it's like, yeah, you replaced some of the shitty people. You got a new GM in there and whatnot. Yeah, new coach, but Arthur Blank still owns the team, which means it's going to continue to be a comedy of unforced errors. God, there is nothing that makes me happier than seeing fucking Arthur Blank lose continually in life. I don't even know if he's like a bad owner or anything. It's just like every time I see that dude like in his fucking suits, I just want to hit him. I just want to fucking punch him. What kind of fucking owner shows up to, all these games in suits other than Jerry Jones? We all fucking hate Jerry Jones too, by the way. Like, Just add Arthur Blank to that. Like, he was so smug thinking that they had the Super Bowl one, and then they like, because I'll never forget like how he was down there on the sideline, fucking celebrating when the Falcons clinched a Super Bowl berth, and then just like seeing the absolute like terror on his face to the point where he went down to the field like during the Super Bowl. That is just hilarious to me. This man deserves to fail, in my opinion. So, yeah, having $100 million quarterback that you didn't even tell you were doing this to, by the way, uh, all time great Atlanta Falcons moment here. That top 3 moment for outside observers for this franchise, behind 28-3 and wasting Matt Ryan's entire career. Just one of the great moments of the last 20 years of this franchise. I haven't gotten to the Michael Vick stuff. Wasting Julio Jones. Like, you had Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, and you made one Super Bowl, by the way.
Yeah, and lost.
But I'm not gonna talk about sports.
The question was about sports. To be fair,
I know it was.
To be fair, nerds.
Fucking nerds. Fox, I'm gonna save your first question for next week, because I simply have not. I know it's been in here for a few days. I simply have not had time to think about this, and I need to think about it with some of the changes we've had recently to exotics. Fox's question, for anybody wondering, is if you could alter how any exotic weapon or armor function works, which exotic would you alter and how? I want to sit back and think about this for a minute. Also, I selfishly want to get through through the new version of 0 Hour and look at all the intrinsics for Outbreak before I reveal my answer on this one. So we're gonna put foxes. I'm gonna put foxes into a corner. Cade, we already addressed yours. Cade asks, now that Pantheon's been out for a few days, do you think the challenge is worth the rewards? Is there enough replayability around it throughout the week? And is there anything you would change about it? What would you change? I think I've already said it. I'm going to have more changes as we go along, obviously, because it's going to get more and more difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the loot's there. The replayability is there 100%. Okay, Fox dropped another big one on us, and
you seem very concerned.
Fox, you can't drop questions like this on me when we're 10 minutes into recording, because I can see the timestamp on here, buddy. I'm gonna attempt to answer this on the fly, I guess. So I want to read everything that's here first, because I'm like processing some of it right now. I was watching a Bife video earlier, and he kept mentioning that the gardener and the winnower, the gardener being that of life, the light/traveler, and the winnower being that of death, witness/darkness. Reflecting on the trailer dropped a few days ago, there was a feminine voice, presumably that of the gardener. It got me thinking, are we sure that the gardener is that of life? I believe it to be the opposite, that the gardener is in fact the being of death, as the Guardians were told way back in the Black Garden in D1 that we are a dead thing in a place of life by a ghost. I'd like your thoughts on this. So, all right,
man,
I'm going to disagree with your central thesis here. And that's not me pulling out my big lore dick or anything.
Let me hold on real quick. I know you're going to deep dive into this real quick, but like I kind of like that idea, but also it's a very like overused storytelling trope, I feel like, in a lot of ways, where like, oh, the light is really the dark, and like, if I don't know, I feel like that would be the cheap way out at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, you kind of summed up what I wanted to say in much fewer words. I think it would be a cheap out at this point. I do think so. Something I think you need to keep in mind when it comes to Bife and Mylan and other lore hounds is there's specifically with them, like the ones that have really taken off, there's a lot of conjecture. There's a lot of implying, like, this is what I think, but presenting that as like fact.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the winnower and the gardener, we really just don't know a lot. I will say we have learned more recently. I would specifically direct everybody to the lore book that we got with the collector's edition. I know I've been saying we're going to read it. Next week, we're breaking it out. Next week, we're breaking the book out. I'm going to go through, I'm going to get the passages out that I want to read. Because I want to dive into this one further next week. But the long and the short of it is, no, I don't think that the gardener is the being of death. It pretty much, the lore in the collector's edition pretty much explicitly states that the witness is the winnower, and or at least that the dominant personality of the witness, whatever that being used to be, whether it was the leader of the people or whatever, is the winnower. That is pretty much explicitly confirmed. It is something that's been thought of for a while. The dead thing in a place of life. I don't take a lot of things to happen in D1 too seriously. I'm gonna be honest. Like I say all the time how I would really love for us to one day find out who Elsie was talking to on the other end of that radio, but I think we're just like destined to not find out. We know at one point it was supposed to be Osiris. Maybe they'll retcon it into like being the Drifter or something one day. Like that would probably be the easiest solution. That it was Drifter or Eris or somebody. Considering those are the two that she called to Europa to be with her, right? When we say dead thing in a place of life, I think that when we see the Black Garden, I actually feel like we're gonna see that the Black Garden was the original world that the Traveler blessed. That's my personal conspiracy theory. I really do appreciate this question. I don't think this is something that we can like simply answer. So I'm giving you kind of a simple like broad answer of like, no, I don't think that that's true. But that's not me writing it off. That's me saying I want to bust out the collector's edition lore and read some of it next week. And I also want to go back to the unveiling book. Because this is something that's actually going to like require like a nice chunk of an episode to talk about.
Yeah.
This is something that is kind of beyond me to try and explain. But I do think that like gardener, winnower, those are those are pretty common things, I would say.
Right.
The tropes that have come up, they've been there since Shadowkeep. There's a whole reason why Shadowkeep is the start of the journey that we still have in the game. I will also say that when we look up the word winnow in the dictionary, which I'm googling right now, um, it is a transitive verb that means to remove by a current of air, to get rid of something undesirable or unwanted, separate, shift, to be free of unwanted or inferior elements, to separate desirable and undesirable elements. So I will say that I still think that I think that just based on the definition alone, I think that the witness has to be the winnower. We know that the witness's ultimate goal is to remove basically the final shape is removing everything undesirable from the universe and just being a place of order. Right? So I still think that the witness fits that. I don't think that the traveler does. The traveler is transformative, like a gardener is,
Yeah.
and it's so surface level for me to explain it that way, but I can't think of a different way to.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah. I don't know if I could say it any better. I was
But
gonna
Fox, I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into this. I want to get the collector's edition lore out, and I want to get the unveiling book out. Awesome question. Awesome fucking question. I do genuinely appreciate that one. And that I think that's going to kind of steer where we go with the lore. I've been trying to figure out where we're going to go with it leading into the final shape. We've got three more episodes that we're going to do lore in after this one, before the final shape. 197, 198, 199, and 200. 200. We're going to read whatever piece I decide. It won't have any sort of like relevance to the story, most likely, unless they drop a lore piece on us during the final mission. I reserve the right to change my mind, but that gives me a direction to start steering things. I was trying to figure out where we were going to go, and I was going to save a lot of winnower and gardener stuff for after when we have clarification. But now I think it's just going to be fun to speculate.
Yeah.
we do have a lore corner tonight.
Lore
Um,
corner.
lore corner, and this comes to us. This is Luna's Howl,
Ooh.
the reprised Luna's Howl. The story of Luna's Howl is an interesting one. It's been in there for a very long time. Um, Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten are two guns that are very, very similar. So I want to read the original Luna's Howl first. Guardians never die, but we don't forget those who do. Lord Shax. Yosef opened the door. Shax filled the hallway beyond. You look like hell, said the Crucible commander. Yosef scoffed. Get out of here. I have Hive to hunt. No time for the Crucible today. Hive? You lost her on the moon. Yosef said nothing. You aren't the only guardian to leave loved ones behind on that rock. Shax held out a long, lacquered box. The gunsmith asked me to deliver this personally. What's Banshee thinking? I can't afford this. I took care of it, scavenged parts from my personal collection. Yosef considered it a moment. It's a good gun. She was a good dog. This isn't a replacement, but it will help you finish your business with the Hive. Then I expect to see you back in the Crucible. We could use the inspiration. Luna, Luna's a dog. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why the perk is called the Magnificent Howl. Luna's Howl is the name of the gun. And then I want to read from the new Luna's Howl. Same flavor text at the beginning. And it's a very similar lore piece to before. All these lore pieces on the guns are callbacks to the lore or to the stories they originally come from. Yosef opened the door. Shax filled the hallway beyond. You look tired, said the Crucible handler, but I have just the thing to get you buzzing. No time for the Crucible, Yosef disassembled. Another day. I'll hold you to that, but that's not what I meant. Yosef said nothing. I was speaking with Saladin, Shax continued. We were remembering all the people we left behind over the years. Your name came up. Oh, yeah? Shax holds out a cardboard box perforated with large holes. The Valis asked me to deliver this. Yosef opened the box. At the bottom, in a nest of cloud acritions, two sleeping war beast pups. They're not replacements, Shax explained. We hope they bring some light back into your life. They're perfect, Yosef said, his voice tender. Thank you. See them settled, then I expect to see you back in the Crucible to teach my pups a thing or two. When I tell you that I cried reading this, I don't think that there is, other than, like parent and child, I don't think there's another bond quite like that between human and pet in this life. And man, if you've ever lost an animal that you've had for years and years and years, or they've passed tragically, or you've had a loved one pass, like you understand the toll that can take on you. I've talked a lot about my mental health on the show. How I've been in therapy for a couple of years now. How I've spent like the last 15 months kind of overcoming my grief. I read this piece for the first time yesterday and decided I had to include this. Yesterday was my last day of seeing my therapist that I've been seeing for 2 years. My therapist is moving. Their program is over, so they're moving on. And my whole, the whole last year and a half has been about, learning how to deal with grief, learning how that, tragic things happen and we don't forget, but we have, we still have a life to live. And then to have, the game that has defined so much of the last decade of my life have a piece like this on that exact day was really, really special to me. It's not some big in-depth lore piece, but it's enough.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's really special. I think normally I probably would have saved this for a more poignant occasion, but sometimes the universe has a funny way of working out and just kind of like cosmically dumps something on your doorstep. And this is one of those moments. Luna's Howl, great story. Loki, one of the most touching stories in the Destiny universe, I think. Now has a new chapter. So yeah, remember that story whenever you have Luna's Howl. I think back to the emblem or the emote that they did with the good boy emote. Yeah, I I don't have anything else to say. I'm gonna just talk and stutter in circles. So yeah, that's our lore corner tonight. Luna's Howl.
That's
Two
that's
entries of
our
Luna's Howl.
two
Um,
entries.
I'd also advise, if you're not doing it, really read the text that Shax puts up on the screen when you turn in your quests. Um, because it's Shax playing with the dogs. And I think that's really cool.
That's fun.
Yeah, talking about Luna's Howl. He says in it, it reads last thing, and then I promise we're gonna be out of the little corner. Shax kneels in the courtyard, petting a happy war beast pup when you approach. The Crucible handler looks up at you. Guardian, have you ever rounded a corner in the Crucible and suddenly been face to face with another light bearer? He asks. Oh yeah, yes they have. Oh yes they have, he coos to the slobbering puppy. I watched it happen. In situations like those, he tells you a hand cannon is the final word in short range stopping power. He gestures to the firearm holsters at your side. I commissioned the first Luna's Howl as a gift to someone who lost their dearest companion on the moon, he says, lowering his voice in tribute. I'm reviving this model so that you'll have a reliable companion of your own against the witness, he concludes. And speaking of companions, pop in on Zavala, will you? With all this stress, I fear he's looking a little blue. I think I love Shax. We may not hear him talk very much, but I love Shax.
Shax, man. What a guy, man. Shax. I love Shax.
I think we all do. It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Well, Corey, why don't you get
Welcome.
us on out of here?
Yeah, we should probably get out of here. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals. You can find a new episode every Friday. You can check out Xbox Casuals every other Tuesday. Josh, thank you for your time tonight, as always.
Of course.
Where can we find you?
Twitter. Josh Finn, 2 N's.
Is it just Josh Finn now? No underscore?
No, there's an underscore. I think everybody knows at this point.
Well, you got to say it. What if somebody's new to episode 196? 4
God
weeks
bless
before the
you.
final
God bless you if you're brand new to 196.
Please write in if you're new. I want to know who you are. Oh, what if we get like 3 emails next week that just say, "Hey, we're new." Like,
That would be pretty funny, actually.
You can find me at I am Corey in HD. You can follow us at Tower Casuals. You can join the Discord, hang out with everybody.
Oh, I actually have an announcement before we get out of here.
Ooh, announcement from Josh.
Announcement from Josh. I'll say it at the beginning of next week's episode too. I'm going to be creating a channel in the Discord. So if you're not part of it, join the Discord for you to share your favorite Destiny and Tower Casuals memories with us. As we maybe a favorite joke that you've had, maybe a favorite nickname that Corey has used in the past for me. Any favorite Destiny memories you've had throughout the entire time with the franchise. We're coming up on 10 years. Not only 10 years, we're coming up on episode 200 and the final shape. Episode 200 is airing 4 days before the final shape drops. We are recording it the Thursday before. It could not line up any better. It is perfect. Absolute cosmic timing. We toyed with maybe 200 being our campaign review, but felt that was too much to try and cram into one episode. That's already gonna be like a 2-hour episode.
Yeah.
We wanted to have it a little separate.
I'm gonna try to get it set up to where we're live streaming it too.
Oh, so Corey's trying to get fancy on us here.
I'm gonna try to do that. I mean, I know it's relatively easy for Windows users, but I am not a Windows user, so TBD on that. But we're gonna try. It's a big episode.
TBD on that. I will share in both that channel and coming up on next week's show. We're gonna do some community contests leading into episode 200. Fox and Joe are helping me get those together. We're gonna do I know for sure we're gonna do a fashion contest. We're gonna have you share some of your memories. want to, I have some prizes to give away for episode 200,
Ooh.
including I'm gonna have a grimoire anthology. I've got some emblems to give away. I've got some other little Destiny knickknacks. I've got a steel book of Destiny 2 that I plan on giving away. It's either
Ooh.
Destiny 1 or Destiny 2. I gotta look at my prize box. But I have some prizes I'm ready to give away for episode 200. Some silver, some cards for us for silver. So some money to a an online game store of your choice. But we really wanted episode 200 to be a celebration of. I said this in the mod chat earlier. I felt felt a little funny typing it out, but I says, you know, the community's obviously exploded since episode 100, which is true. Like we didn't even have a Discord at episode 100.
It's true.
But our like
You
listenership has gone up exponentially since.
you know how we were getting questions? Joasis was DMing me on Instagram.
It's true.
Okay. That was
It's Joe used to DM on Instagram. We used to get Twitter private messages. The email was actually being used.
oh man. Have you
Yeah,
checked the email in a while? Because I
have not.
have
So if
also
you've been writing in with an email, I'm very sorry.
yeah.
But I says, we've exploded since 100, and I really want the final episode before Final Shape to be, no meme intended, a celebration of the friends we've made along the way.
Yeah.
That's what we did with episode 100. We had Nerd and we had A1 Johnny in here. We may or may not have some special guests joining us over the next few weeks from Tower Casuals past. Because I think this is a pretty monumental moment, not just for the game community, but for our little community. This is basically a 4-year celebration. We started this during the pandemic. We started this 3 months into lockdown. We started it literally the day that, or the week, I don't remember if it was the day or the week that we saw Arrivals and Beyond Light for the first time.
Yeah, man, that was
And this has been it's been a wild journey. I've moved twice. I've had an apartment flood. Corey's had a kid in that time.
yep.
Um,
God, man.
we've smuggled sandwiches back from Florida.
Yeah. Some of us forgot sandwiches in Florida.
Some of us got into Magic the Gathering during the course of this.
Jeez.
Some of us have our desk is card boxes and wrappers right now from various different games. So we really want to make this a celebration of you.
Yeah.
We'll do the normal TWAB reading and stuff. We'll fly through that, but we really want it to be a big community celebration with it being 200 episodes.
Yep.
Depending on what we decide to do and finalize, will kind of dictate how the next couple weeks are going to go. But yeah, I wanted to get that out there. I meant to announce that earlier in the show. There will be details in the Discord coming up. If you're not a part of the Discord, this is the perfect time to join. There's a link in the description to this show and to this episode. And yeah, I'll be putting the channel live sometime this weekend for people to start sharing their memories and reminiscing. So, and I want to read a lot of them on air, if not all of them. So as long as they're appropriate, I want to read them all on air.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of us have some really touching memories that the series has brought to us, and I want to share those. So, all right, Corey, get us out of here for real this time.
All right. Everybody, we're going out with a bang. I don't know what that even means.
I don't either. I'm afraid to ask. It's okay.
I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.